Well, Fujitsu is a very large company, so we would have to make it a bit more specific, maybe. Fujitsu is a Japanese-originated company. About 2/3 of our business is in Japan. 1/3, a bit more than 1/3, is outside of Japan, and we are trying to grow that business. Fujitsu operates in over 130 countries, and we operate across all of Europe. However, our operation is, because of the historical development and because of the acquisitions that we made, is not very homogeneous at the present. We have countries where we appear as a mostly product company, and we have other countries where we appear as a services company, and our plan is in the European region to pull this together and streamline it more and make it more homogeneous. So currently the most exciting technologies are arguably not in the IT part direct, but more in the communication parts. And that's because probably the most exciting development in the market of recent times is what some people call the Internet of Things, and the applications of that development, which is about connected devices. All devices, even the simplest ones, are connected to an internet and can therefore exchange data. Fujitsu likes to talk about the concept of the hyper-connected world, which essentially expresses this ability of the devices that they connect to every other device as well, and therefore they can provide information that, first of all, in the first step they provide a lot of data about everything, and then with the corresponding algorithms and analytics methods, as they call it these days, these large data sets can be examined, and quite possibly entirely new and sometimes even very surprising information can be found in it. And with that kind of information you can establish new business models, develop entirely new businesses, and transform existing businesses to efficiency levels, entirely new regions, or new technologies. There are lots of possibilities that have the potential to entirely change the nature of that business. In that sense, the Internet of Things as a set of technologies dominated by communication technologies and sensors in the hardware space, but also large compute engines that can do these sometimes very heavy-duty computations that are needed with lots of processors and such, with the algorithms that are very powerful now and can work in parallel on distributed data sets, such as Hadoop and the other methodologies, and the new in-memory databases that can process very large amounts of data very quickly. We are facing now a new situation where entirely new value propositions are possible. This is the domain of the so-called ICT companies, not just IT and not just communication, but the two together, ICT companies. And this is a terminology not very often used in Europe yet, but I think this is going to change in the next couple of years. Certainly Fujitsu views itself, and this is how we position ourselves in Japan. In Japan, Fujitsu is an ICT company already, and in Europe not quite yet, but this is one of the developments that we are going to work on. And we develop our technologies in many cases ourselves. Not only, but we do develop a lot of things, and that's because our R&D and a lot of the Fujitsu basic R&D is done in it is a company, but it's fully owned by Fujitsu, called Fujitsu Laboratories, and that R&D research part of the company is something like 1,600 engineers, and we do spend just below 5% of our annual turnover on that kind of R&D activities. So we do develop a lot of technologies of that 5%, almost 5%, yeah. So Fujitsu's business contains this very large part of products of all kinds, not just laptops and tablets, but also storage systems and server systems. And we do not market the networking parts that I was going to mention here in Europe, but in Japan we do. So there's even networking gear, networking equipment in there. So for Fujitsu, the product part of the business is an important one, and we do manufacture ourselves as well. The notebooks are the Lifebook series is manufactured in Japan. The PCs, desktop PCs for European use, because they are more like regional, local products, are manufactured actually here in Europe. In Germany, we do have a factory where we manufacture a large number of them every year. In that same factory, we also manufacture server systems and storage systems as well. So manufacturing is an important part. We do work with other companies, and we do have contract manufacturing as well. Obviously, every company does that these days. But there are certain products, for example, the high-end notebooks, Lifebooks for business use are made in Japan. Fujitsu reorganized last year, and we created the regions, and we are currently in one of the largest region outside of Japan. Japan is obviously a region, and then we have Americas, EMEA, which stands for Europe, Middle East, Africa, India and Africa, Europe, Middle East, India and Africa, EMEA, and we have Asia, and we have also Oceania, which is Australia and New Zealand. And the EMEA region is the largest one, and within that we concentrate in a number of economies. The largest economies are important, obviously, for growth, and it's very easy to see which are the largest economies in Europe. And the Italian business is not just important, but in some ways very typically European because of the large, small and medium enterprise content of it. You see, a lot of companies tend to think of Europe as just a collection of a very few large manufacturers of cars and similar things and machinery, but in fact the largest economies frequently are dominated by the small and medium enterprise. Germany is like that, Italy is like that, and so on. And therefore, it's an important market for us, because for the large and medium enterprise, for the large enterprise and the small and medium enterprise, sometimes different products are needed, different services are needed, and a different engagement in the market is needed. The role of the channel, and we have a very large channel partner network here in Europe, is much more important if you would like to serve the small and medium enterprise. So Italy fits very nicely into that picture. There's also another aspect, is that in some countries in Europe we have a very sizable business with the public sector, and that's the tradition of the company coming back from the old days, where we used to be very many years back part of Siemens, and then joint venture between Siemens and Fujitsu. And from those times we do have the public sector businesses in some of the countries. Italy is one of those where we every now and then have a very large project that involves the public sector. So very challenging in terms of price, very challenging in terms of scale as well, but we try to do our best to serve the Italian public sector as well.